Welcome back to the channel. Here we dive deep into the mysteries, wonders, and everyday lives of one of the most fascinating civilizations in history. Today, we're zooming in on a group of people you might not think about at first when you hear ancient Egypt, the farmers. Yes, those humble heroes who worked the land, made sure the food kept coming, and basically kept Egypt running while the pharaohs were busy building pyramids and looking fabulous. So, what was a typical day like for an Egyptian farmer? Grab your sandals and sunscreen. We're going to find out. Farmers in ancient Egypt didn't have the luxury of sleeping in. Their day began at sunrise, when the Nile's waters glistened and the desert air was still cool enough not to feel like a hairdryer set to high. Imagine waking up with the rooster crowing like an alarm you didn't set, and knowing you've got a long day ahead before the sun turns into a blazing ball of fire. Their homes were simple mud brick huts, not exactly beachfront villas, but effective at keeping the heat at bay. And while they might not have had AC, at least the Nile was nearby for a quick splash or to carry water for their crops. Speaking of crops, these farmers had some pretty basic but effective tools: wooden plows to break the earth, sickles crafted from flint or bronze to harvest grain, and baskets woven from reeds for carrying everything. No tractors or drones here. If you told an ancient Egyptian farmer about a self driving tractor, they'd probably think you were talking about magic or a really lazy ox. Their staple crops were wheat and barley, the main ingredients for bread and beer, which were basically the foundation of the Egyptian diet. Beer wasn't just a treat, it was part of daily nutrition and hydration, kind of like their version of sports drinks, but way less sugary and a lot more filling. The farmers would prepare the soil carefully, plant seeds by hand, and guard their fields against hungry birds and insects using natural remedies like ash or sulfur, basically ancient bug spray, minus the nice smell. By midday, the sun was high and merciless. Even the toughest farmers had to take a break, retreating to the shade of a tree or a mud brick shelter. They'd drink water straight from the Nile or more beer, which, by the way, was more like a thick porridge than what you might imagine. So, yes, beer for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It sounds like a party, but for them, it was just another day. One of the coolest inventions these farmers relied on was the shaduf, a giant seesaw bucket used to lift water from the Nile to irrigate their fields. Simple, clever, and a great team building exercise. You needed someone to pull down one side while the other side lifted the water. It's basically the ancient Egyptian version of passing the bucket, but with way more Nile water involved. This irrigation system helped keep the fields fertile even when the Nile wasn't flooding as much as usual. The afternoon meant more hard work, but hopefully a little less sun. Farmers tended to their crops, weeding, fixing canals, maybe mending fences. If they had animals like goats, sheep, or cows, they'd check on them too. Livestock was essential, providing milk, meat, and leather for tools and clothing. After a long day, the farmers would return to their village, tired but proud. Evening was family time, sharing stories, singing songs, maybe a little dancing to thank the gods for a good harvest. Speaking of gods, the farmers were deeply religious, praying to Osiris, the god of agriculture and the afterlife, and Hapi, god of the Nile's floods. They believed these gods controlled the success of their crops and even used amulets and charms to protect their fields from evil spirits. When you're battling droughts and locusts, a little divine help sounds like a smart strategy. What about their diet? Mostly bread, onions, garlic, lettuce, cucumbers, and fish from the Nile. Meat was a luxury reserved for special occasions or the wealthy. So, in a nutshell, their meals were carb heavy with a splash of river catch. Makes modern pizza nights look extravagant, doesn't it? Harvest season was a big event. Cutting the crops with sickles, threshing the grain, and storing it safely meant the difference between plenty and famine. And yes, farmers paid taxes to the pharaoh, usually in grain. So they were the original taxpayers, keeping the pharaoh's granaries full and the government running smoothly. So, what did we learn from the daily grind of an ancient Egyptian farmer? Early mornings, long hours, simple tools, strong faith, and a life tied intimately to the rhythms of the Nile. Without these farmers, the great monuments of Egypt would be nothing more than rocks in the desert. Next time you enjoy a sandwich or a cold beer, give a little thanks to those ancient heroes. And if you ever feel tired of your modern 9 to 5, just remember at least you don't have to irrigate your fields with a giant seesaw bucket under the blazing sun. Thanks for joining us on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of an Egyptian farmer, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss an adventure with us here at Ancient Egypt Explorers. Until next time, keep wondering, keep exploring, and remember, history is everywhere, even in the dirt beneath your feet.